Hello everybody and welcome along to week number 5 of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship here on Friday primetime, broadcasting to you live on the iRacing Esports Network. Coverage brought to you by Racespot TV. My name is Paul Smith. Alongside me in the commentary booth, Ryan Walker and Conor O'Maddock as well will be here for special comments. And, well, what a circuit we have for you here today. We are, of course, racing around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the 4.3 kilometre track. It's 13 turns, plenty of slow speed corners. So the rear tyres are going to take a hammering with the acceleration zones, but the track temperature is ideal. 21 degrees Celsius track temperature, the air temperature 20 degrees with clear blue skies in the air. And Ryan, well, it's week number 5 then of the championship. We've had a mixed smorgasbord of tracks at various locations around North America, but Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, it's one of my personal favourites. I don't know about yourself.
That was one of my favourites as well, and I've done a few races around here, and the Skip Barber and a few other cars of the series, and it's such a challenging track. You've got, like you say, you've got a mixture of slow speed corners, high speed corners, and another element to add to it as well is the walls, especially the final chicane, the wall of champions. If you get that wrong, it'll end up biting you. So these drivers will have to be on their feet.
Yep, so this is definitely, certainly a tricky track, but hello everybody, there we are in the commentary box here, and well, we've got about 3 minutes of qualifying remaining. We've got I'll be honest with you, not the strongest strength of field around here, but as you mentioned, Ryan, you know, that it's a tricky track. Some people don't like this track, but also we've got the Spa 24 Hours coming up as well. Perhaps people concentrating on that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Spa 24 is this weekend as well, so maybe some of the quick drivers have been just focusing their attention on that and just getting in as much preparation for that as possible. So on the other hand, it will give some of the drivers that we're not really used to seeing on the broadcast a chance to get some glory and maybe get some airtime.
Well, this is it. It gives people a great opportunity to shine and to show what they can do behind the wheel of this car. Of course, iRating isn't the be all and end all of a yardstick as to how good a driver is. So, you know, don't despair just because we've got an average strength of field of 2051 doesn't mean that you could have some bad racing. You could have some excellent racing, some of the best racing I've had of people who are just around that 2K bought mark. So, yeah, definitely it's going to be an intriguing one, but we're into the swing of things now with this championship, and really we've seen very different events, and that oval race at Phoenix comes to mind as to a bit of PTSD perhaps, but it's been a good start to this Friday prime time, hasn't it, Ryan?
It's been great to watch, and I've enjoyed commentating on it so far this season. And that race at Phoenix, it was a bit that was a bit chaotic, put it that way. But the races so far this season has been great to watch, and it's been really close wherever you look, up at the front in the mid pack, at the back of the field. And I think this new car so far this season, it's met expectations.
I was going to say, I gave this car a quick try last night in one of the races, and I was convincingly the slowest driver out on track in qualifying, but somehow ended up in the top half of the field. So it is a race of attrition around here, isn't it? Just quickly, with the walls being right next to the track.
Yeah, and also this track, my view anyway, and from experience racing around it, you don't have to be the quickest around here. You just have to keep out of trouble, just do your own thing, and if other people slip up, especially through that final chicane, you're right behind them, you could pick up some places, and you pick up the rewards.
Well, time is running out for the drivers in qualifying, just mere seconds away from qualifying ending. So we'll be heading towards the grid very shortly indeed. But as I mentioned earlier, ideal conditions for these drivers to get a good run here in this event now. But without further ado, let us take you through your starting grid here in this particular event. Week 5 of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. And it's Tom Edwards from the UK and Ireland on pole position, ahead of Moreno Barrios, with Gio van der Erve in 3rd and Olivier Thort in 4th place. Tony Powell 5th with Chris Willett in 6th place. Juan Miller 7th ahead of Trofa Roberts, rounding out run number 4. Run number 5 then, John Landon with Zach Tonks, Eric Chardem and Chandler Pellerito, row number 6 there. Row 7 is Lasse Nielsen with Stephen Tate, Juan Cardona and Rafa Forti rounding out 16th place. Matt Hurtas and Ron McMahon 17th and 18th with Aaron Roofs and Thomas Seeger 20th on row number 10. 23 drivers in total here with Will Redford, Tony Watson and Samuel Fontaine all not setting a lap time as well. So, rolling start as always. Tricky start at this track as well because you've got to get through that final chicane here and definitely it's a challenging one here, Ryan. What's your expectations just quickly as we get ready to run behind the pace car?
Well, as always, as you know, these cars have got the latest tyre model and also cold tyres, like you say. These drivers are going to have to be careful, especially in the first couple of laps, just let the tyres get up to temperature. And not do anything too silly on the first lap, especially through the first sector, because that's so tight through that sector, and if these drivers try and take it too wide or even they do anything silly, mayhem will erupt.
Right, so into the final turns. Wall of Champions to your right, but the leader, your pole sitter, is already away. Tom Edwards getting an early jump there. 22 laps of this track then. Into turns 1 and 2 then. Through the left and the right. Really tricky part of the track, but Edwards out front. Nice clean start for him. We've got some incidents further down. Zach Tonks and Lasse Nielsen have both dropped to the back of the field, so that's going to be in the first couple of corners. Moreno Barrios in 2nd place. Just have to get in the swing of things. Through that chicane. Tricky part of the track now. Heading towards the next chicane. 4 chicanes in total around this track, but under pressure then as Barrios from Gio van der Erve. Through the right and the left. Avoid those sausage curbs, it will unsettle this car. We've got an incident in the background there as well. Tony Powell spun on the exit of that chicane into the hairpin for the first time. He's still there, is Tony as well, having to wait for everybody to go past him here. Absolute nightmare. Don't reverse it into the wall. He just stops it in time. He has got a little bit of rear wing damage there, but Ryan, that's not what you need at the start of this race.
Absolutely not. And just look at the replay of Tony to see what happened, and it looks like he just took on the exit. He just took too much of that left side curve and just took the anti-cut as well, and unsettled the car, and he just lost it. And then he's having to wait for the rest of the pack to go by. It's a nightmare waiting for the pack to go by because you can't do anything. You want to get going again, but you don't want to pull out and possibly cause any issues. But apart from that, it seems to be up at the front anyway. These guys up at the front have not had any issues so far.
Yeah, and in fact, Gio van der Erve then has made it into 2nd place, then moved ahead of Moreno Barrios. Now, Barrios is under intense pressure from Thort and from Willett as well in 4th and 5th places. So plenty going on here in the early stages of this race. Your front two are within a second and a half, and then you've got these three drivers all covered by less than a second as they're heading down towards the chicane. Really tricky. Get your braking right underneath that bridge. And stuck on that bridge, bouncy, bumpy as well on the entrance to that chicane, then down into the hairpin once again. And it's so easy here, Ryan, to make a dive down the inside, but then the driver that you've just overtaken gets the cutback on the exit.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you make a move on someone, and even if you get a good exit on the exit of the hairpin after making a move, they can get back by you possibly because of that slipstream. And the slipstream of this car, sometimes on some tracks it can be really strong.
If you're within that sort of second of the car in front, it really is a good slipstream that you can pick up. I found that out yesterday. But heading down towards turn number 1, on board then with our 4th place driver Olivia Thuholt. And into the right-hander. You've got to get it nice and slow. The car wants to understeer around there. You're relying on the mechanical grip of this brand new vehicle over the curb then, through the right and the left. Get it out to the wall. Some drivers who are more confident with the car will be flat out through the right-hander there. And into this chicane again. You don't want to use too much on the curbs because it will push the car wide. But again, Thuholt is just in that slipstream at the moment, Ryan. Just being patient, just showing a nose. But it's a long race, 22 laps, so he doesn't need to panic here, does he?
Yeah, he just needs to just play the waiting game a little bit and just let the race pan out. Was someone in the background is making a move into the hairpin? That looks like it was Oliver. Yeah,
so Olivia. We're looking to make the move, and Barrios was having to go defensive early on that one. That gives Thuholt the better exit. And look at this. This is where the slipstream shows. If he'll go to the outside now, Barrios can hold the inside line here because it is a right-hander. And Thuholt misses his braking, goes through the cut through. That's going to be a slowdown penalty for him. He's got to drop down to at least 5th, in fact possibly even 6th place here. No, he's getting back up to speed, so they're losing 1 place there, but that shows how easy, Ryan, it is to miss your braking into that final chicane.
Absolutely, and it's also another thing as well. If you try and make a move on someone or try and stay in front of someone, you're too busy focusing on them. And as we saw, Thuholt just went straight on, and he maybe just too busy focusing on Barrios.
Yeah. So as they head on through, Thuholt is going to have to try and work his way through and make up another spot here behind Chris Willett as they're heading through. But now we're shifting our focus forward, because look at this. Gio van der Erve has done a fantastic job here, Ryan, moving up closer, and in fact he's looking to try and make a move. There's a little bit of lap traffic just down the road from these two as well, but van der Erve right here has got the slipstream.
Yeah, he got a great exit on as well, and it looks like he's got the run on Tom, but will Tom go defensive? It looks like he's going to go to the inside and defend the inside line, and they're going to try and make Gio go around the outside.
Well, can he make it into the lead? We saw this move attempted just that last lap, and brave move there from Gio van der Erve. Tom Edwards got out of it. He decided not to fight that one too much. Got onto the brakes, put the anchors on, and just let Gio take the lead of that one. We'll look again at the replay of that one then. And it's there. You see the slipstream. Look at this. The aerial shots brought to you by Amwern Designs. Down into the chicane. And Tom, he just decides, do you know what? I'm not having an accident here. I want to get a good result.
Yeah, it was good. That was good thinking by Tom as well. It was, we're only lap 5 of the race, and still got a long way to go. So maybe he's just thinking of the long game, just tucking behind Gio and just trying stick in his slipstream and try and pull away from the rest of the pack. And then towards the end of the race, if he's still right behind Gio, try and make a move and try and take the lead.
Now I can tell you that Olivier Thuholt has actually moved back ahead of Chris Willett. whilst the leaders were battling that we were looking at. So Olivier back up into 4th place here, down into the hairpin. Important to get your good run out of that corner because you carry that speed all the way through to that final chicane. Down in towards that last chicane, your leaders, look at how close these two are. Tom Edwards to the inside. Oh, and running wide and into the wall of champions goes Gio van der Erve. Don't rejoin in front of everybody else there, Gio. That is not a good way to re-enter the trying to recover, and he's taking the turn back to the pits. Massive drama there, and Gio, well, it's all on him, is this one, I'm afraid.
Yep, I have to agree with that. I think I can understand that you want to get going again, but there's traffic, there's oncoming traffic towards you. You don't do that. You stay. The rule of racing, I've been told all the time when I racing, is if you spin or make a mistake, put the brakes on, wait until the rest of the pack goes by. Yeah, it means you lose positions, but it's just racing etiquette.
Well, I can tell you that Olivier Tour was one of those drivers who got collected there by Gio. He's missing his front wing. He's just lost a position to Chris Willett, as we saw again just how close drivers were getting. But Olivier, the number 1 car, right behind Chris Willett then, he's losing ground because you can see the damage to the front of the number 1. No front wing. He's going to be struggling. He's going to have to make a run down onto pit road to get a new nose cone here. He'll be good down the straight, if nothing else, because he's got a little less drag on that car.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was just unfortunate for Chris. He was just the innocent victim, and again, that's all on Gio, that incident. And as Chris dives into the pits to get a new wing, new front wing, sorry.
That was Olivier diving onto pit road, and he's even had a little message for that incident as well in the chat as well in Sim, but we won't mention what that is because we can't actually repeat the words that he said. But anyway, one person I want to point out whilst we're looking at this battle between Juan Miller and Topher Roberts is the man that's behind this battle. He's got a bit of a gap between those two and the 6th place man. Thomas Ziegler has started in 6th place, in 20th place, should I say. He's up to 6th place in this race. That's sensational from Thomas here. The run that he's had here is absolutely incredible.
It's just proof around Montreal. But if you just keep out of trouble and other people have issues like we've been seeing so far, you can just pick up loads of positions, and like we've been shown by Thomas, he's picked up loads of positions and having a good run in the top 6.
That was Ron McMahon that he just worked his way past, laps down as Ron in this one. We have got 2 retirements from this way, so Gio van der Erve and Tony Powell are 2 retirements. You can see the top 18 on the left-hand side and the positions gained. So as I say, Ziegler up 14 positions, Fontaine up 11 places, and there you go, the big one, Olivier Tour down 13 spots, and he is feeling the effects that down in 17th place. But well, everybody's just calmed themselves down a bit now. They've separated themselves out. It is a longer race. It's at this point that we start thinking, right, I need to start worrying about those rear tyres, because with this car, especially a track where you've got a lot of acceleration zones, it's so easy to overheat those rear tyres here, right?
Yeah, from my experience in this car so far, it's start of the race, the car's really good, and then like you mentioned, towards the end of a race, I'm not sure if it was just me or my replay, but it looked like Tom Edwards might have just slightly scraped the wall. But yeah, this car you've got to be careful with in the closing stages, because the tyres just seem to not drop off, but they just lose grip.
Well, Tom seems to be fine. He's still going here. We'll have a look at this on whilst we've got the chance here. And it's going to be on the exit of this chicane here. This is the third of 4 chicanes at this circuit. I say about keeping away from those sausage curbs. Oh, yeah, he does seem to just scrape that wall. Gets away with it, but you don't want to be doing that too often here, Ryan, because with this car, you'll end up breaking the suspension on it.
Absolutely, I've had that as well a few times, and just look at the replay of Tom, and yeah, he just slightly scrapes the wall, but manages to get away with it. Yeah, but if you hit the wall maybe slightly like at an odd angle, like the front wing just slightly nudging it against the wall, it can affect the handling a little bit.
Well, it didn't affect him too much on that lap because he just set the fastest lap of the race, did Tom Edwards. So did a solid job on that last lap. 3.4 seconds is the gap between him and second place Mariano Barrios. Now it's Chris Willett in third place, who we're looking at right here. Juan Miller, fourth place. Pretty close together between these two. Less than a second covering these two, and not that far behind is Topher Roberts as well. I do apologise. In fifth place. We've got a 3-car, I would say, train, but they're spaced out a little bit at the moment. But this is the most promising of battles out there on track at the moment here, Ryan. But you're at this stage now. You've got into the swing of things. You find yourself in a good position. How difficult is it to keep out of your own head and stop yourself making mistakes from being too tight, too anxious?
From my experience, I think when you're in a good position, you start, I wouldn't say thinking, but you start saying to yourself, don't do anything silly, don't start pushing or over, don't start over pushing. Basically, you don't want to do anything silly. Just keep up a consistent pace. For example, if you can do say 32s around here most of the time during a race, you should be fine. But it's just going through it in your mind. Don't do anything silly. Just keep it on the road and try and get to the finish.
We saw Juan getting very close to the Wall of Champions tyre wall then, so just gave it a little bit of a kiss, but he's absolutely fine there. Keeping in the wheel track to Chris Willett in front of him there. So through towards this second chicane now, onto the brakes. Great shots that we're seeing here. You can see you don't want to take too much of those curbs, as I mentioned earlier. It pushes you wide if you use too much of those curbs through that chicane as they head on down towards the braking zone here. Hard onto the brakes through the right and then the left. Miss the sausage curbs again. That's another one that'll push you wide, and then headed down towards the hairpin. Want to brake not far past that little tarmac patch on the right hand side, driver's left. You start hitting the brakes, slow that car down. Some drivers second gear. Myself last night, I was using first gear through that to get the launch out of the hairpin, and then it's carrying that speed all the way down the back straight, heading towards the final chicane. It's all got a little bit tame here. It's all got a bit calm now on lap 10 of this race. But we have got Tom Edwards in the lead. Mariano Barrios in second place with Chris Willett in third place. Pulling out now ahead of Juan Miller and Topher Roberts. Roberts actually caning on that last lap by 9/10 of a second. Thomas Ziegler has just set the fastest lap of the race in sixth place. He's actually gaining on these two in front, and Ziegler could become a threat here then, Ryan.
Absolutely, and having a great race is Thomas, and I wouldn't rule him out of finishing in fourth or even a push if any of the top three have issues, but finishing on the podium. So Thomas having a great race so far. And, Juan Miller is having issues.
Yeah, he was in fourth place, was Juan, dropping down the order. It's at that second chicane. What's bedding? He's got either on the throttle, he's lost control of that, or he's clipped a curb and just lost control of it. We'll have a look here then. Into the left, this is where I expect him to lose it. There you go, just clip that curb, back end goes around. Manages to avoid the barrier, that is crucial for him, so he's not picked up any damage. We'll look at it again on board, but it's this curb on the left-hand side. I mentioned it about it unsettling the car, Ryan. Just spins it round.
Yeah, it's just it's the left side curve. You always get the urge to take as much side curve as possible, but it's got a little bit of a red curve on it, or a red anti-cut, if you like to call it that. It can unsettle the car if you take too much. So, from my experience, I just like to try and drive round that as if possible.
Well, what this does now is allow Topher Roberts to come under serious pressure from Thomas Ziegler here. Look at those lap gains. The last 3 laps, 1.5 seconds, 0.8 seconds, then 1.1 seconds. Thomas Ziegler is absolutely on fire here as he's coming through the right-hander. He's looking to make some moves and make them soon, because he wants to he could sniff a podium here, because Chris Willett is not that far up ahead on the road here.
Yeah, and with about 10 laps remaining, I think if you're Thomas, you've just got to go for it. You've just got to push as much as possible and try and gain more positions. And as he makes a move up the inside, he's up into 4th place. And the next target up ahead of him is Chris Willett.
That's a classic move here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve into that 3rd chicane underneath the bridge. It is tricky, as I mentioned, it is bumpy on the brakes there, and then out of the hairpin. He's already pulling away here as Thomas, and well, his next target then, Chris Willett, is about 3 seconds, two and a bit, 3 seconds ahead of Thomas, but time will really, you'd imagine it's going to be a when, not if, that he catches him here with the speed that he's been having here. Anyway, as I mentioned, 10 laps remaining here in this race. It is still Tom Edwards who's leading this one ahead of Mariano Barrios. It's now 6 seconds is that gap in the lead. Chris Willett is in 3rd place with Thomas Ziegler 4th, Topher Roberts 5th, and Rafa Forti in 6th place. This is a battle for 7th and 8th. That's Eric Charadem and Stephen Tate, France versus the UK, with Juan Miller, the man in 9th place, right behind them, the recovering Juan Miller. So dropped down to 9th in the end in this one, but he's trying to make a recovery drive here now, Ryan.
Yep, he's right behind the P8, Stephen Tate, and I don't think it'll be too long before Juan gets by him, and I think this next corner coming up, he'll probably get by him, as it looks like he's got the run, but I don't think I thought he was going to try and make a move up the inside, but decides to back out of it and stay behind.
But you could see the different lines that Tate and Miller were taking through that 2nd chicane, and how Tate was running wide through the left in that one. So it shows that Tate's not fully confident with the car under brakes. He was looking with Juan. Not happening. Oh, Tate just getting a bit hot on the throttle there. Back end wanting to swap around on him, and that's going to allow Juan now to make the move here. Looking early to the left-hand side. He's going to get ever so slight draft from the number 7 car in front of Eric Charadem into the braking zone, and oh well, backed out of it did Juan. I'm surprised by that, but Stephen Tate held his ground and held on to the position there.
Yeah, I think Juan realised at the last second he couldn't get by, and decided to back out the last second on the entry, and just lost a bit of momentum. So he's lost some momentum, lost some time, but he should be able to regroup and regain that time back.
So as they go through, looking further back now, Will Redford and Matt Huertas, both UK and Ireland drivers, 11th and 12th place. They've also got Tony Watson with them there as well. And not that far behind is the recovering Olivier Tuault as well, who had to get that new front wing to his car. Through the right they go, and down towards the 3rd chicane. These 3 just staying as they are, keeping separate and keeping going on for the time being as they head on down towards the hairpin. Get onto the brakes, hit your marks. Try not to get on the power too hard or too enthusiastically, and they both managed to do that out of the hairpin. Number 20 car of Watson not wanting to take the slipstream here. You can see the traffic down that back straight as they head on down there. I can tell you that there is about 1 second between... oh, actually, we've had Matt Huertas in the Wall of Champions there. Down to 15th for Matt. And again, big mistake. And it's the Wall of Champions takes another victim.
Yep, just look at the replay now. So I'm guessing, anyway, it looks like he might have just gone for slightly wrong, or maybe just took too much of that high curve on the left side before the exit, and he just carries too much speed in the entry, and he's just a passenger into the Wall of Champions. But yeah, luckily he manages to reverse and get going again.
Well, he's lucky that it's a tyre wall at that point rather than the concrete wall, so he doesn't completely rip off the front of his nose cone. Tony Watson as well was having issues through that chicane as well. So it was multiple drama. I can tell you at the moment, Stephen Tate, who was up in 8th place, well, we're just having a look at a replay here, but Stephen Tate has stopped out on track. I can see it on my timing screen. He's back up and running. Is this going to be at the first chicane? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on the replay here, but I can tell you that Tate has dropped down to 16th in this one after being in 8th place. So I made a mistake somewhere. Possibly the same mistake that Han Miller made at this chicane. No, he's fine there, and he's fine there. Gets on the power. We'll get it eventually. We'll stick with the replay while we can, because we will see this one. But so easy to make mistakes around this track, and it costs you dearly here, Ryan.
Yep, and there
you go.
Just clipped that left side curb on the exit and just the onset of the car and just lost it into the wall.
Does a little bit of an Austin Powers to try and get back up and running, but does so. But as I say, will be down in 15th place now, so he's already gained 1 place back from where he was. Right, we've got all those replays out the way. Back to live action, lap 16 of 22, and look at this now. Thomas Ziegler, he's been gaining all this time. Now, 0.4 of a second, he'll be getting the slipstream here. He'll be feeling the effects of that slipstream. And Chris Willett is doing everything he can to try and break that draft. But at the moment, into the chicane. Holding on to that 3rd place, but Thomas Ziegler here sniffs a podium. This will be a sensational drive if he does manage to get onto that podium. Lap 17 of this race. The time is starting to run out for these drivers here. Ziegler able to hold a tighter line through the right-hander, but Willett getting onto the power earlier there. The man from Ohio versus the Diaz driver through that first chicane. And Ziegler, you can see how aggressive he is through those chicanes, Ryan.
Yeah, he's just absolutely throwing everything at it to try and finish on the podium. And at the moment, Ziegler looks to be the quicker driver at the moment. He's just absolutely taking no prisoners. And yeah, it'll be a great result if he does finish on the podium, considering the way he started. And Chris at the moment as well doesn't seem to be able to carry as much speed through some of these corners, or doesn't feel comfortable.
It's car 2 versus car 3, and here we go. Ziegler really close now. Wants to hold it up tight to the car in front on corner exit here out of the hairpin. Both cars nicely onto the power, down the back straight, on board with Ziegler. And again, feeling that draft. Willett doing the right things, position his car in the right places. Ziegler looking, showing his nose, trying to force a mistake from Willett in front, but Willett's doing a good job absorbing that pressure. We're starting lap 18 here in this one, so we're going to have 5 laps remaining here. To the brakes once again. Left, right, hold that tight line. Willett decides to take the wider line. Back end getting loose on Willett's car there on corner exit. So working those rear tyres a little bit. Ziegler, this is where he seems to have the edge over Willett in front, through the twistier stuff, through the more technical stuff, on the brakes as well. Those different lines again. Willett taking curb, whereas Ziga isn't, and Ziga's getting a great run out of that second chicane, and he's going to look to the inside. We've seen him make this move once already in this race, on the brakes, down into the right-hander, and that's another positions gain for Thomas Ziga here, Ryan.
That was a fantastic move, and that all started from the previous corner. Ziga got a great run in the exit, and got the slipstream and managed to make the move up the inside, and he gave Chris plenty of room, but Chris tries to take a tighter line on the exit of the hairpin to get a better run. But Ziga at this point, I think he's just needs to pull away, and he should, all going well, have it in the bag.
Yeah, Ziga giving him the slipstream here and the back straight. Looking to the inside as Willett, but it's not going to work. He's compromised his line into that final chicane, and that's allowing Ziga to pull away. Now, surely Ziga cannot gain on Mariano Barrios in second place. He's about 6 seconds behind. With 4 laps remaining, I would imagine that he is not going to do it. We're just going to have a look at this move then again here, Ryan.
Absolutely, and it's just Ziga gets a perfect exit, gets a slipstream, like I say, up the inside, under the bridge, and then under braking gets the move done, and that was well executed.
Yeah, it's almost as if he'd done it already in this race, but as we're heading towards the closing stages, I did say, by the way, that we were going to have comments from Connery, and I've realised that we've not had comments from Connery so far in this race, so we'll say hello to Connery, and well, you've been busy producing and watching this race. What's your big takeaway been so far in this one?
I'll be honest, I wasn't initially expecting you. To be honest, I wasn't actually initially expecting you to actually bring me onto the broadcast, so my microphone isn't actually set up in the right position, so it might sound a little bit weird for the stream at the moment, depending. But yeah, it's been a slow burner in some instances. We had that middle portion of the race where the gaps were just gradually closing in. Ziga definitely really catching right up to the back of Chris Willett, and a deserved P3 for him. I just gotta say though, if Ziga started a bit further up the grid, he might be challenging Tom Edwards for the win.
Well, we mentioned Tom Edwards, by the way. Lap 18, his lap time was a 1:38.7. Every other lap he's been doing 31s and the odd 32s, but lap 18 he did a 38.7 here, Ryan. So obviously he's made a big mistake, and that's okay. It's closed the gap to 4.9 seconds between him and second place, but he's not infallible at the front.
Yeah, I was just watching it as well, because I thought I had a feeling that something happened to him. But he just came into the final chicane and just carried too much speed and just clipped that the left curb on the exit. Just had a slight spin, but managed to keep it at the wall and get going again. And still, he's not being challenged, and he's still just basically all by himself up at the front.
So then, Sheridan and Forte, France versus Iberia, and it's actually Sheridan that's just slightly pulling away from 7th place. So that one is not going to be a battle, but as you can see, he's significantly pulling away. Now, 2 drivers there, 2 recovering drivers, Juan Miller and also Olivier Tuhol. And look at that, Olivier, look at his lap times, gaining significantly on the driver in front. Now the question is, when he came in for his new nose cone, did he also take tyres? It was 11.5 seconds was his pit stop. If he did take tyres, he will actually be on significantly younger tyres than the rest of the drivers in this race, so you never know. But anyway, through the final chicane, and Tuhol is going to make that move. He's going to just be able to make it on the exit of that chicane in towards turn number 1. Nicely done there, down the inside, and that is a change of position then, up into 8th place now for Olivier. He won't be happy with that though, Ryan, will he?
Not at all. I think Oliver was expecting to have a better race. But unfortunately, just the incidents that were out of his control, it cost him a better result. But he's on a good recovery at the moment, and he's back inside the top 10, up there in P8, and they possibly could try and challenge for P7.
See those positions gained there. Ziga 17 positions gained. Redford up 11 places. We've not really mentioned Will Redford all race, but he's in 10th place, and he's gained 11 positions. Watson 10 places, and Fontaine up 10 places as well. But Tom Edwards at the front of your field will now be starting his final lap of the race, being able to pull out a little bit after that mistake at the final chicane to 5.6 seconds between him and Mariano Barrios. Thomas Ziga, he's been trying his best to catch up. His last lap was a 31.5 for Thomas Ziga, so he's keeping the pressure up all the way, but not able to gain. But looking further down, there you go, there's Barrios, second place, the man from Florida. 4 seconds ahead of Ziga in third place. Now, Olivier Tuhol has actually made a move and made an overtake. He's up to 7th place now. We saw him get up into 8th place on the last lap. It was down into the final chicane that got him the position into 7th place now. So a bit of a recovery. He's only lost 3 places now in this race, but at one point he was in 4th place in this race. But out of the hairpin, that is the location of where Nigel Mansell back in 1991 ground to a halt in heartbreaking circumstances on the last lap. Car just stopped for him, but no problems for Tom Edwards. Into the final chicane, negotiate this one. He's got the checker flag waiting for him, and it's going to be a win here for Tom Edwards from the UK and Ireland. Across the line here on the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, week number 5 of Friday Prime Time. Great win there for Tom. Great second place for Mariano Barrios, and fantastic result for Thomas Ziga in third place. The racing isn't over, by the way, because 7th and 8th are absolutely neck and neck. And look at them there. They're coming in side by side into the final chicane, clattering over the curbs. Great move from 40 to actually get the place back again. So able to get ahead of Olivier Tuhot, who goes across the line in 8th place in the end. Juan Mella and Will Redford together, pretty close together towards the end as well. Juan Cardone and Stephen Tate pretty close, but we'll look at that one again into that final chicane, and it's just on the brakes better. Last of the late breakers then from Rafa Forte, and be able to make the move out of the final chicane. Great stuff, absolutely fantastic to see at the end there. Still waiting for 1 or 2 drivers to finish this race here before we'll be able to give you the official results. Just 2 more drivers to come across that finish line. So, yeah, great race. Fantastic stuff to watch as always. And I do believe that is now everybody finished. So we will be able to give you your final race results here then. So the winner of this race then is Tom Edwards, 6.1 seconds. That doesn't tell the whole story of what happened in this race for him. Mariano Barrios in 2nd place then, ahead of Thomas Ziga. What a drive. My driver of the day here in this one. 17 positions gained to finish on the podium. Chris Willett did a good job to finish 4th ahead of Topher Roberts in 5th. 6th place for Eric Charadin, with Rafa Forte in 7th. Olivier Tuhot then 8th place on his recovery drive with Juan Mella, again another driver recovering from a mistake, in position 9. Will Redford rounding out your top 10. In 11th place, John Landon ahead of Tony Watson, pretty close between those two across the line. Samuel Fontaine and Chandler Pellerito in 14th place. Juan Cardone and Stephen Tate 15th and 16th, with Zach Tonks, the last of your lead lap drivers, in 17th. Matt Huertas, Aaron Roofs, 1 lap down, Ron McMahon 2 laps down, and then the drivers who do not finish this race. Gio van der Erve from the lead of this race retires. Wall of champions. Tony Powell and Lasse Nielsen then are your final runners in this race. So, well, that was a really, really entertaining race. I said that you don't have to have the world's highest I-rating race to have a good one, and that was certainly enjoyable. But the action is not over here, as we're getting ready for the post-race show right after this.
We got big time problems with that motor, buddy. Hey, just between you and me, the idea is to avoid the other cars. Congratulations! You just set the sport back 30 years with that move. That move will put you in the Hall of Shame. You keep doing stuff like that and we're gonna lose our sponsor. Looks like that's it for us today. Now I know why you got canned by your old team. It's over. We can't fix that damage. You'll need a tow back to pit lane. Press and hold your reset button and we'll come and get you.
Welcome back then to the post-race show here on the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, week number 5 of Friday Prime Time here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. My name is Paul Smith, alongside me Brian Walker, Connor Rematic behind the cameras, pushing all the buttons, and also special thanks to Istvan Ballo, trackcams22.com, providing all of our track cameras here today. But speaking of cameras, well, you'll be able to say hello to ourselves here, and well, it is the post-race show here then with myself and Ryan. And Ryan, I mean, that was a really entertaining race. A lot of people didn't think and expect that from that result, but it certainly was a fantastic advert for what racing you can have throughout the different splits here in the Indy Pro 2000.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that race was it wasn't the most exciting race of the season, but on the other hand, it gave some drivers that you don't normally see in the broadcast a chance to shine, and some of the drivers up at the front certainly did shine. The likes of Tom Edwards and also Thomas Ziegler finishing in the top 3 after starting in P20, I think it was. So Thomas would have to be my driver of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Fastest lap of the race, by the way, was Tom Edwards with a 31.3 in that one in the end. But looking forward towards the schedule of the season, he says, hinting towards his producer, hoping that he brings up the schedule up on screen so that he reminds him what the actual schedule is. I'm not padding here at all, but we'll be able to have a look at that now. And you can see, there we go, Sebring is the next round of the championship. Classic circuit, plenty of bumps. It's going to be tough in this car. Spa-Francorchamps, and then week 8, July the 31st, is one that we're going to circle, which is, again, another one of those ovals at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. But you look at the next 2 races, though, Ryan. I mean, talk about 2 classic circuits here. Sebring and Spa-Francorchamps.
2 fantastic tracks, and Sebring, one of my favourites. Not just in the endurance racing or sports car racing, but just in racing in general. Just because of it's the bumpy nature of the track, it makes it a challenge. And setting up the car for Sebring with the bumps, I think it's going to be a bit difficult. So you might see some people go for maybe adding some more downforce. But Spa, you've got loads of straights, and loads of straights means for loads of slipstream battles.
Absolutely, and that's something that this car provides, is plenty of slipstream battles. But just talking about Sebring then, you got the run out of Sunset Bend down at turn 1. That's a great overtaking opportunity. If you're brave, you can make the move into turn 2 as well. Run out of Big Bend down towards the hairpin. That's another classic overtaking opportunity. Into Tower as well. There's so many places to make moves around that track, but it's a track that if you make a mistake, will punish you.
It does indeed, and also with Sebring, especially that the Sunset Bend and the bumpy nature. If you lose it over those bumps, you've really got nowhere to go except for a journey into the wall. Just because it's basically the car's going that quick, and the corner's so bouncy. There's just no time to react or no time to catch it.
Well, speaking of Spa-Francorchamps that we did mention there, of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention that tomorrow we have got live coverage of the iRacing Spa 24 hours coming up here on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll be bringing you all of the race here, and it's the only 24-hour race where it's a single class. It's GT3 cars throughout this one. And Ryan, I know you've been doing a little bit of testing and a little bit of feeling things out. How is this track, this balance of performance going into this year's event?
The testing I've done, I would say the 2 or the main cars to have heading into tomorrow for the Spa 24, I think the main cars to have will be the BMW, the Audi, and the Mercedes. The testing I've done with the Ferrari, at the moment it looks like it's slightly on the back foot when it comes to straight line speed, but on the other hand, it's a 24-hour race, and in 24-hour races, anything can happen. You can be in the slowest car, and you can still do well, or even better, even win.
Absolutely. So strategy is going to be key. So too is keeping the car in one piece as well. That's a huge thing, and also making sure that your equipment is well fixed to your sim rig, as well, as we saw last year with a certain Formula One driver is a little bit busy this weekend, but. Anyway, what we will do then is we will wrap up this particular broadcast. As always, thank you to Ryan for joining me here on commentary. Thank you also to Connery on behind the scenes on the production side of things as well, and giving us some special comments through that broadcast. As I mentioned earlier, Istvan Balor as well, trackcams22.com for providing our track cameras. But next week, we're heading to the bumpy nature of Sebring International Raceway. It's going to be an absolutely thrilling race. But until then, From myself, Paul Smith, it's goodbye.